Hey everybody, Nerdherfer here. So, you're probably watching this video because you want to know more about what a plasma actually is. So I can imagine if you're like most people, when you think of a plasma, you think of an incredibly hot, gooey looking liquid, right? Something incredibly viscous and slimy, like the stuff that the Covenant shoot at you in Halo, or the green shit that the aliens were shooting at Will Smith in Independence Day. Or maybe you're thinking the stuff in our blood, which is called plasma, but it's biological stuff that's completely different, and that's out of my wheelhouse, so we're not going to talk about that. Cool. Okay. But I'm here to tell you that most of the sci-fi interpretations of what a plasma is actually incorrect. Plasma is by no means goopy or viscous or slimy or anything like that. In reality, plasma is, you can consider for all intents and purposes, an ionized gas. It's a gas that is so hot and energetic that the electrons of the atoms that make up the gas are able to escape the nuclei and move freely throughout the space between the atoms. And we'll talk a little bit more about what that means later. But the plasma gas can't be too dense for its temperature though. So like our actual air, it can become a plasma, but it won't stay a plasma for long. And this is because the free charged particles that escape the atoms will quickly collide with other neutral particles and then re-neutralize. And then they dissipate their heat, and then they cool down, and then it becomes an issue. So that's why you need to have like relatively low pressure, or you need to have stuff really, really hot. So to create a more well-established definition of what a plasma actually is, let's get more into the physics of plasmas and talk about the three criteria that we need to satisfy in order to officially call a plasma a plasma. So stay tuned. Okay, so let's talk about the three plasma criteria in terms of a more like quantitative physical standpoint. So we're looking at the first plasma criterion, which is the length scale of the system must be much larger than the Debye length. So you guys are probably wondering, what is the Debye length? Well, the Debye length is this thing here. Essentially what it is it's a ratio where the thermal energy of the plasma balances out with the electric potential, or the Coulomb potential. So it is defined by this formula here. So you have epsilon naught times the Boltzmann constant, the temperature of your electrons, over the number density times the charge of your electrons squared, and then you take the square root of the whole thing, and that's your Debye length. And essentially your plasma criterion in quantitative terms is that the length scale of your system, so whatever it is you're measuring, whether it's like in space or something, must be much larger than the Debye length in order to consider the scale to be big enough to be a plasma. And you can think of this sort of as an illustration here. So this is our nucleus, and then this is measuring the distance from the nucleus. And this graph here measures the potential as a function of distance. And as you can see, as you drop away from the nucleus, or as you go further and further away, the Coulomb potential that you feel drops significantly. And then this Debye length is essentially the e-folding distance of that potential that you see right there. So it's essentially if you were to take the original and then multiply it by e to the -1, and then that's the Coulomb potential that defines the Debye length. Okay, so the second plasma criterion is what I like to call Lambda, capital Lambda, aka the plasma parameter. Not just a plasma parameter, the plasma parameter. So to consider a material a plasma, you have to have a sufficient number of charged particles that occupy a volume, which is dictated by the Debye length. So you can't just have like 3 electrons floating in space and call that a plasma. It has to be a little bit more substantial than that. So essentially the way that you define that quantitatively is you have capital Lambda is equal to the number density of your electrons times a Debye sphere volume, which is basically the Debye length cubed, and that gives you a unit volume. And that ratio there must be much greater than 1. So basically this has to be orders of magnitude greater. And which means that because this number is really small, if you cube it, it's going to be even smaller. So that means you have to have a lot of electrons in that confined space in order for this to become true. So plasma, even though it's less dense than most other states of matter, it's actually still quite substantial, in order to be called an actual matter that we can actually measure. And to talk a little bit more about this here, so we talk about the number density of electrons a lot, but this is actually often interchanged with the number density of ions. And the reason for this is a concept called quasi-neutrality. So in this sort of space here, basically what you'll have is if you have a bunch of neutral atoms that eventually ionize, and then you get a positive charge and a negative charge thing, usually an electron, and then a positively charged ion. What this means is that you'll get like a 1-to-1 split of each one. So in a closed system, you'll have the same number of ions roughly as you do electrons. So that's what the quasi-neutrality is, because that's true most of the time in all. Okay, so the final plasma criterion is that the average time between particle collisions, so the random walk of particles floating in the air whenever they run into each other and collide, and that's an exact function of the number density, as you'll see in a second. The time scale between that must be substantially larger, so that means less collisions, than the reciprocal of the plasma frequency. So the plasma frequency is something we'll talk about in a second, but essentially it is the signature motion of the plasma, because the plasma oscillates, especially the electrons. We'll talk about that in a minute. But basically this is the plasma frequency, how it's defined. It's the number density times the charge of an electron squared, or the electron mass times epsilon naught, and then that's the square root of it. And then the time scale has to be much greater than 1 over your plasma frequency, because the plasma frequency itself will be a very tiny number. So then if you divide it by 1, it'll be a very large number, so then you still want this to be much larger than that number there. So a little bit more about quasi-neutrality and what this means exactly. So quasi-neutrality, I talked about it a little bit last time. It basically means you have the same amount of protons and electrons together in the same system, right? And they have a tendency to distribute amongst themselves like this, and that's because of charges. So like electrons and protons are attracted to one another, but at the same time they're repelled by other electrons. But basically they're attracted to the opposite, but they're repelled by other electrons or other protons, that sort of thing, that are like them, have to have the same charge. So if you were to perturb a proton, so give it a side-to-side motion like that, basically what it's going to do is it's going to cause the entire plasma body to oscillate. But, so each of these protons will start oscillating as well, because it'll cause perturbations in the electrons. Now you'll notice the lines I'm drawing for the electrons are much larger, and that's because electrons are much lighter than protons, so they will feel the electrostatic forces a lot more. So that's why the electron plasma frequency, so the time it takes to do one oscillation like that, is much longer, is much more noticeable. So that's why we look specifically at the number density of electrons and the mass to determine the actual frequency. So since the electrons have a tendency to dictate that. But yeah, if we fulfill all three of those plasma criteria, then we have ourselves a plasma. And I will talk a little bit more about some examples of what actually is a plasma here on Earth. Okay, so now that we talked about what actually makes a plasma, what exactly is a plasma in this entire world? Like, what can we see that's actually a plasma? You're all familiar with solids, liquids, gases, but what is a plasma? Like, how do we see it? Well, plasma exists quite a bit in space, actually. About 90% of the matter in space is plasma. The rest of it is like solid or gas, depending on what phase it's in. That's a very large topic. But you can see this plasma interacting with planets based on auroral features. And you see this all over the solar system. So like Jupiter, here on Earth, at Saturn, at Saturn's moons, Jupiter's moons, all over the place. As long as it has a magnetic field, it can interact with the plasma. So that's pretty cool. Our sun is a big ball of plasma. Even though the interior has a huge amount of pressure and it's extremely dense, it's also very, very hot. So it still fulfills the plasma parameters, which is really cool. Actually, it's hot because it's the sun. But here on Earth, for brief moments, you do see plasma naturally. You have lightning, which is plasma for a brief moment. But again, that goes back to what I was saying about how plasma cannot sustain itself in the atmosphere without quickly diffusing its heat. And you can actually experience that heat diffusion in the form of thunder with a lightning. You also see plasma in fire. So if fire gets hot enough, the center of the fire, where it's extremely hot, becomes plasma because you have charges that are being released in the form of chemical reactions as whatever material is burning. So that's pretty cool. Also, you have artificial plasma, so stuff that we make. These light bulbs, for example, plasma. So once the gas inside is ionized by the electricity going through them, it becomes a plasma. Also, you have more fun things like plasma balls. Here, right now. Yeah, plasma. Also, you have fusion reactors. So humans are very interested in discovering nuclear fusion and figuring out how that works. So basically we're trying to figure out how to create self-sustaining confined plasma reactions that fuse hydrogen into helium, or various isotopes of hydrogen into helium, which is pretty exciting. I really hope that works out. And actually we can do this quite successfully. There are plenty of other YouTube videos about it if you want to learn more. But yeah, be sure to check it out. But that's essentially what a plasma is. And thank you guys so much for watching. I know this channel is just starting out, but I appreciate your supporting it. And if you like it, please leave a like or leave a comment below if you have any questions or comments or concerns. And you can follow me at Twitter at nerdherper91 right down there. But until then, I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.